Guys, I've literally known mid-handicap golfers drop 5 to 10 shots off their round by employing this short game tip. Hi everyone, my name is James Robinson, welcome back to the channel. You may notice I've just thrown, rather aggressively, my lob wedge down to the ground, and this is because when you talk to mid-handicap golfers, you talk to handicap golfers, if we give lessons or even if we play with them in pro-ams, you often start to see how people use the wrong clubs around the greens in totally the wrong areas at totally the wrong time, and you get totally the wrong result. So that concoction isn't something you want to work for. So you'll see here, guys, we're in the rough. It's not a terrible lie, but it's not the semi fairway and it's not on the green. Here I've got a 50-degree wedge, and all I'm going to do here is keep that club rotating, land the ball around a third of the way there, then let it release out. I've hit that to about 3 feet. That's going to be within tour average of this distance. Now if you start to think, right, I'm going to go 60 degree, and this is where so many people get this wrong. This is where I held my hands up in the past. I have done this, and you get your lob wedge out and you think, right, lob wedge, I'm not on the fairway, so the ball's set up a little bit. I'm going to try and attack this, and I'm going to play just a shot that I'm comfortable with. I actually didn't hit that too bad. It was a tiny bit thin. All of a sudden now I've got 10-15 feet for my par. I'm much more likely to hold that first shot, even with a shot that's run on just a little bit, than a shot where I'm opening the face up front. There's nothing in my way to make me need to hit that ball up in the air, and we all know that the longer the golf swing, the more likely something can go wrong. So if I do have a 60-degree wedge and Chris throws me another golf ball in here, then all I'm going to do is I want to make sure that the sequence is correct. I want to make sure that the setup is correct, and I want to make sure, you see, if I were to use this 60-degree wedge now, this would happen quite a lot to me. That. You think, all right, it's a nice simple shot, but because there's that much loft here, I need to keep that speed through the shot, and you just start to hit a little bit behind the ball. All of a sudden here I've got 20 feet for my par. That's not what I want. It's also not 20 feet, it's more like 15, but it's not ideal. If I have the same shot again, and then I think, right, last time I duffed it, so I'm going to make sure I don't duff it. Oh no. So I haven't duffed it, I've now caught it a little bit thin. We go back to this 50 degree, and this is where I've learnt so much from working with Chris, to be fair, but we'll not tell him too much because he will start to get a little bit arrogant. With there being less loft here and a little bit more shaft length, I can actually stand closer to the golf ball. I don't need to have the ball too far back in the stance like I was trying to with the 60 degree. It's a little bit of an oxymoron that when you have a really high lofted club and you have the ball really far back in the stance, because you're trying to de-loft it when really just use a lower lofted club. And all of a sudden I have this in the middle of my stance. I have a nice neutral shaft angle here. I'm not trying to push that shaft angle forward. I'm not trying to play it back and enhance the bounce too much. I just have it nice and neutral. Now one thing I always have to do, I always have to have the weight on my left side or on my lead side. So left side for a right-handed golfer, right side if you're playing left-handed. But from here, all I'm going to do is allow that club to rotate around my body the whole time. So I'm not trying to bring it outside. I'm not trying to pick the club up and drop it down on top. I mean, you can see straight away there what's happened. I've tried to pick that club up, drop it down. The leading edge has got too steep into the ball. So if my ball was here, the big ball, sorry, if my ball was there, I would catch the earth before it and I would really struggle to play the shot I want. So nice neutral shaft. I'm almost playing this a little bit like a putt, and you can see that I've pulled it a little bit, but that's still only 4 feet away for my par. It's all about how good is your bad, if that makes sense. So we all know that your good shot's going to be a good shot, but if you start to play percentage golf, you'll start to get the ball a lot closer to the flag, and Chris is now going to give us a few drills to help you do this and drop your scores pretty quick.
So what we see a lot of the times when people are in this position is, yes, you do go to your 60, and once you've got your 60, like James mentioned, we start to see different speeds, we start to see a lot of tension in your hands, so we're gripping the club really strong, it starts to get very rigid, and we don't have any control on that club head. And what we also see is that people think, right, am I putting my wrist into this? Is it wrist? Is it body? I've seen someone say I've got to release it, I've seen somebody who said I've got to turn, so I'm going to do, I've done a bit of both. No, I didn't put a big swing on that, but I put everything into it and it's gone nowhere near where I want to be. And you're not going to be able to control how much loft is when we get back to the golf ball. So a good drill for you to do if you're a right-handed golfer is just do a right-hand only swing. So grip it with your right hand, and this will also show you if your grip is in the right position, because if you get your grip underneath too much with that right hand, it's going to be very hard to take that club away. There's a lot of weight in there and it'll start to lag behind and we'll never be able to get the contact we want. Same as if I'm too weak, if my hand's really far over, again the club face is going to fan all the way open. From there, it's going to be very hard for me to get that club face back square down there unless I rotate everything. My arm comes off, I lose a lot of connection, and I'm not going to be able to do it. So if we get our right hand on nice and neutral, and all I'm now focusing on is turning and just letting that club do the work. And a lot of people say, yes, I hear that all the time, let the club do the work, let the club fall onto the golf ball. To get to here, they just let it fall. Yes, that's not going to hit the ball. It has to be falling with a turning body. So I'm letting that club swing out in front of me. And once I come into that, I've got my weight left, I've got my setup good, and we can just let this club head swing. And you'll see I don't have to make much motion to get that going. Again, we'll see where the strike comes out there, pretty centered on the face. So if I get that doing that nice and smooth, I'm letting my body work, I'm letting the club work, and as a result, that's exactly what we want to see. We want to get the strike. I can then control the flight, I can then control my distance, and more importantly, I can control any kind of spin that I put onto that golf ball. You'll quickly get caught out here if you're somebody who comes in and you really hit at the golf ball, which is what we see probably 90% of the time from amateurs. I can't chip, I don't know what's happening. And we see this motion where we go about 2 feet back and all the way through to the finish. Well, the strike wasn't that bad. Yeah, I took a little bit of a divot, but look where that strike pattern goes straight away. So strike pattern straight towards the toe. No control on where that's going to come off. Luckily that one came off nice and straight. Missed the flag, over the green, now I've got a downhill chip. So after you've got your strike, so strike is always the first thing we want to work on. So doing this drill is just going to help you get that body turning and getting the swing of the golf club. After that, we then want to think when you're on the green is picking the correct trajectory. So do I need a low shot? Do I need a mid-flighted shot? Do I need to carry over anything? Or do I need a high shot? It's very rare that you'll need a high shot or very much a flop shot. But if we do want that, we can do that nice and easy with the same club. So if I've got a 50 degree here, if I want to play a really low one, I can go towards my back foot. So on the big toe of my right foot, I'm not going to push my hands forward. So one big thing here when people are trying to play low shots is they'll get the ball back, hands quickly go outside the trousers. All that's encouraging is digging into the ground. So what we want to do is get the ball position back. It's always pointing just in front of my zipper, but with my weight left, that's going to take loft off. You'll see it still matches with the sternum. I can then make a nice motion and that will come off low. So it's my weight left, it's not the hands pushing forward. So if I do this now, back of my stance, get the club into position, weight left, and I just don't think about anything or I'm trying to cock my wrists. I just turn back and through. You see, nice and low, and just turned with the slope of the green. So if I now want to play a high shot, for example, so yes, I've got a 50, why would I want to play a high shot with a 50? Well, we can do that, and the way to play a high shot is now we're just going to move our ball position. So ball position goes forwards onto the left toe. I'm going to open that club face up a bit, but you'll see I'm standing further away from the ball. That's going to encourage me to be a lot more shallow. If we're shallow, we're going to present a little bit more loft, and from here I can make the same motion. I'm not trying to use any wrists. You'll see that comes off nice and high, but I don't have as much control. But you can still see I can play a flop shot if I still need it to go a little bit forwards, but I need a little bit of loft. I can open it up with that club, and you'll see those two shots both out of the centre of the face, even though I've slightly changed that. So the key things there are getting your setup correct, but also choosing the correct loft for your shot. So think about what shot you need. Do you need it high, low or medium? From there, pick the correct ball position, and we're just trying to do the same motion. So I'm just trying to get that club and body working together, and then even if I go to a flop shot, the same. And I'm not thinking wrist, I'm not thinking release, I'm not thinking anything else. Just make sure the ball position is correct, turn your body. That's going to help you get good at golf.